Good morning. My name is Sarah Bruchmiller, and I'm the judge of the 368th District Court. Welcome. It's so great to see you all here going through this program. On a side note, I came up and spoke to this group last year to those participants, and interesting enough, my dad had just moved to Williamson County and he was participating in the Citizen Academy. So it was a nice little surprise to see him in the audience and then be like, introduce him to everyone and also get his perspective on how the Academy was and what he learned through the process. And let me tell you, he gave it rave reviews. So a very good choice by all of you to participate in it. I do want to take a moment to address a question brought up about volunteering with the courts. There is a program, and I can't endorse any specific program, but I want to offer some information and you can look into it and see if it's something you are interested in. There's a group called CASA, or CASA, C-A-S-A. It's a child advocacy group, and individuals can volunteer with that group and be appointed as a special advocate for the children going through the court system. So it's something to look into. So if you are interested in maybe that area, that's another opportunity. So, this is a quote that we pulled from the Texas Constitution. All courts shall be open, and every person for an injury done him in his lands, goods, person, or reputation shall have remedy by due course of law. So that goes way back, and it is such an important cornerstone to our system and to our community that if you feel that a wrong has been done to you, and there is a cause of action or there is a law that you can stand behind, you have an avenue to go after to have that wrong corrected, have a just and fair result to that. Now, I normally don't use clickers, but I am glad to be provided one. Let's see if I can work.
It's the bottom arrow.
There we go. Now, it's important to note there are 6 of us district judges here in Williamson County, and our courts are elected county-wide. So I often get asked, is your court my court? And the answer is yes. All of our courts are your court. We're elected by all the citizens of Williamson County, and if you have a case here in Williamson County, it would fall into one of these district courts, if that's the appropriate court for the case. Now, I've listed off their number. There is no pop quiz on this at the end, just so you know. But moving from left to right, that is Judge Donna King. Then you have Judge Stacy Matthews. She was in the Day Tripper video that you just saw at the beginning. That was her, down in her courtroom in the 277th. Then me next in the 368th, Sarah Bruchmiller. We have Judge Ryan Larson, Judge Betsy Lambeth, and our newest judge, Judge Terrence Davis. And he was appointed very recently by Governor Abbott when Judge Scott Field was appointed to the newly created 15th Court of Appeals. So it's wonderful. We're sad to see our colleague go, but we're very happy for Judge Davis to join us. And I do want to note that there's an asterisk next to Judge Lambeth's name, and that's because she is our local administrative district judge. We vote on that, and she has done an outstanding job. She has been on the bench longer than any of us on the district court level. So she serves as our administrative district court judge. Also interesting to note is she is the first female district court judge here in Williamson County. Ever. So, and she still serves our community. She is fantastic. All right. Now, what kind of cases are in district court? I wanted to bring you a few statistics. I think it's important to be able to see that as well. So we decide among the judges how we're going to divide up cases. We are general jurisdiction, just like Judge Barker has in the county courts. Our courts can hear any of these subject matters, but the way we have it divided among us is with civil is handled in those 5 different courts. Now, civil means a private citizen is filing a lawsuit, and that may involve various causes of action like breach of contract, personal injury, product liability, medical malpractice, a car wreck case. Those would fall under civil, and those are handled in those 5 different courts. Then family matters, divorce, child custody, or adoption, which the county has an adoption day, and I know they do that up in county court as well in the district court. It is amazing to see those children come in and legally become part of a family. Then there's child welfare. Those are handled in those specific 3 courts. Our criminal cases, specifically felony cases, misdemeanors are handled in the county courts, as Judge Barker said. Felony cases are handled in those 3 district courts, and those are filed by the district attorney's office. I'm one of the judges who handle criminal matters, so on any given day I may be handling a capital murder, aggravated robbery, driving while intoxicated, third offender, those types of cases. It really runs the gamut. On another day, I may be handling civil matters and hear breach of contract or medical malpractice. We also have a juvenile court. Our Judge Matthews is our juvenile judge, so that is run through the 277th District Court, and that is handled out at the Justice Center. And I don't know if many of you saw in the news that they're actually expanding our Juvenile Justice Center, and that's not necessarily because there's a huge increase in cases. It's just to provide even better services to those juveniles. Our juvenile department is run by Scott Matthews, and he does an amazing job out there to help those children get back on track before it's too late for them. So it's pretty incredible. And I do want to point out, because I find many people don't actually realize this. Does anybody know at what age you become an adult under the Texas Penal Code? So for a criminal matter, when can you be charged as an adult in Texas?
16 years, 5 months.
Close, very close actually. Anyone else? 17. 17. Yeah, people don't always realize that because they think it's 18 like it is in the civil codes or the family code, but it's actually at 17 years of age you move from the juvenile system up to the adult system. Now, some statistics I want to give you. These are as recent as the end of February 2025. There were almost 9,000 cases pending in the district courts. 9,000. And there's only those 6 district courts to handle all of those cases. As our population increases, cases continue to increase as well, right? That's what you'd expect. So for family cases, we have over 2,088 cases pending at that time period. Civil, over 4,069. Criminal, 2,666 cases. And juvenile, 164 at that point. So it continues to increase at such a rate with our population that we actually went to our commissioners and explained the need, that we need more resources as these cases continue to be able to give them the time and attention that they deserve. And also efficiency. You don't want a case sitting there for years on end. You want cases to be handled quickly. Justice delayed can be considered justice denied, right? So we want those handled quickly. And our commissioners agreed with us. And therefore, from that point, we have gone to the legislature. And there are 2 bills pending right now, one in the House and one in the Senate, asking for an additional district court. So that's being considered at this point. So stay tuned. We'll hear more about that as it goes through the legislature. And we should know something about May or June, whether or not we get a 7th district court. So, and if we do, that court will also handle criminal matters and likely civil cases as well. All right. Other departments that we work with the district courts, the district clerk's office. Now, you all heard 9,000 cases, almost 9,000 cases pending. So they have a lot going through their office, and you're going to hear about that shortly. The district attorney's office, as I said, they handle all of the felony cases. They file the felony cases. They have to try the felony cases. That is their domain. The magistrate's office, not many people hear about that. There's not a lot of news on that, but the magistrate's office is the first point of contact for any individual arrested in Williamson County, whether they're arrested on a misdemeanor case or a felony case. They go through the magistrate's office. And our associate judges, which there are 4 of them, appointed by the district judges and the county court judges, work through the magistrate's office. And they set bail amounts. They make sure there's probable cause, that it's an appropriate arrest. They also can sign some search warrants, and they sign arrest warrants, blood warrants as well. We have a pretrial services office, and they help monitor individuals who are out on bond. They make sure that bond conditions are being upheld as far as whether there's an ignition interlock in place that's been ordered by the judge. There can be other additional pretrial conditions, such as a GPS monitor, where we want to make sure an individual who's accused of a crime isn't going in towards a victim or possibly leaving the state. They do drug testing as well. They serve many different roles through pretrial, and they make sure individuals are appointed, court-appointed attorneys on criminal cases if they demonstrate a financial need for them as well. We work with our community supervision and corrections department. You may know that as probation. Typically that's called probation. The official name is community supervision. Work with our juvenile services department. We do have administrative operations where each court has a budget they're responsible for. Data analysis, where we have to absolutely keep track of those numbers. And as Judge Barker explained, those are reported to OCA, Office of Court Administration. So that is certainly tracked, because it's very important that someone is looking and making sure that we're keeping on all of those cases and making sure we're moving quickly through them, quickly but appropriately. And of course, law enforcement agencies. Now, Judge Barker spoke about her two specialty courts, and I want to take a couple minutes and talk about the specialty courts in the district courts. We have a family mental health docket through Judge King's court. It's an amazing program that she created. These are individuals who need the extra assistance of wraparound services, who have somebody through our local mental health authority, which is Bluebonnet Trails, who can oversee their needs. And when I say wraparound services, it extends much beyond just whether or not they're seeing the appropriate doctors or receiving the appropriate medication. She's even have instances where she had an individual come up and she discovered that person had been vaping. And that was a no-no through her program, right? Restriction wasn't being permitted. But when she called up the person before her to find out what was going on, she discovered that individual was vaping because they were so hungry. Right. And the vaping was helping that individual with those hunger pains. So she took steps to help that individual find food to be able to progress. Because if you're not meeting that basic need, how can you expect for them to be successful? How can you expect for them to be able to get to that doctor or find that transportation? So the wraparound services are really focused on through all of our specialty courts. But when she told me about that incident, it just kind of broke my heart a little bit that was going on. But it goes to exactly what Judge Barker was talking about. And that's a goal of the specialty courts is to dive deeper into what's going on. Right? We see that these individuals are charged with a crime. Well, is there a deeper reason as to what happened? What is the genesis of that problem, right? Is it mental health? Is it substance abuse? We fix that, we get them back on track, and we have them productive members of our society and not out repeating their criminal behavior, right? That benefits all of us. Then there is a program through Judge Matthews' court, which is transformative justice. And I used to be involved in this program when I was a prosecutor. When I first moved to this county, I worked for the district attorney's office. It is a fantastic program that she created. And what it is are individuals who are between the ages of 17 and 24 years old who are charged with a non-violent felony offense. Okay? So we're talking typically drug cases. Right? If it is an appropriate case, and the district attorney's office will look at the case, a defense attorney will look at the case before it goes into transformative justice, the transformative justice program, and see if this individual and this crime that they're accused of committing is appropriate for the program. But this gets those individuals back on track. And she finds that some of those that she interacts with have never had appropriate behavior, appropriate life skills modeled for them. And she provides that with her wraparound services, with her team who work in that program. So it's not just the judge and the individual charged with a crime who's coming in the specialty program. It's actually a whole team of individuals who are working with the participants within each of these programs. Family Recovery Court, another fantastic specialty court. Judge Larson has really taken that by the reins. And that is dealing with individuals whose children are being investigated for CPS. It's the parents who are being investigated, but it's certainly the children who are affected, right, through those investigations. And he's looking at ways to reunify those families and making it a safe environment for those individuals who are participants in that specific program. And he's working through partnerships with different community members, different nonprofit agencies, to be able to get those resources provided for those individuals to make sure that there are healthy homes for these children. And then finally, the Felony DWI Drug Court Program. I could speak all day on this program. This is out of my court. Folks, these participants are just amazing what they're able to accomplish through this program. In fact, we have graduation today for some of the participants who have successfully completed all of the requirements of the program. And that means treatment, recovery, and accountability. They just don't come in and check the box and leave with a certificate that says they graduated. They have to work through it. And by working through it, it means not only obtaining sobriety, but obtaining recovery. And I tell each and every one of them, my goal is not for you to just complete the program and achieve recovery. My goal for each and every one of them is to obtain recovery and have those tools that they are going to take with them for the rest of their life. Because with alcohol, with substance abuse, there's not a cure. It's not a switch you just flip on and off. You have to give them the tools to be able to handle that no matter what life throws at them. And again, it's team-based. There's the judge, but there's also a probation officer in there. There's a counselor in there. There's defense attorneys in there. There's the prosecutor in there. And it's all a team approach where they make recommendations to me, and then I rule on how we move forward with it. But it's an amazing program, and to see the folks come in day one struggling through the grips of that addiction, and then they leave 12, 18 months later, they've turned their lives around. And as we know with substance abuse, it doesn't just affect the individual who stands before me in court. It affects their family, it affects their kids, it affects their coworkers, and the ripple effect it has on our entire community is incredible when you really look at it. So they are doing the work to earn that through that program. I'm so proud of them. But 3 p.m. today, if anybody is interested in coming by and seeing what that program is about, it's in the 368th. And you actually get to hear from those graduates and how they've been able to change their life. They always say it's the program that changed their life. It's not the program. Don't let them fool them. They've done the work to get there. So it's pretty incredible. All right. Like I said, I could talk about that all day, but I'm not going to. I may if my clicker doesn't work. Okay. People often ask, what do you do? In fact, my father, when he sat in these pews, he asked, what do you do when you're not in court? What do you mean you don't have court this afternoon? Does that mean you go home and take care of other business? We do not. We do not at all. We have many different additional duties as a district court judge. We review and sign search warrants and felony arrest warrants. And I put on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because I have been at home at 10 o'clock at night and gotten the call, hey, can you review a search warrant? And I get the call from either the officer or the district attorney's office. Can you review this and see if it's proper? And then we do and have them come over to our home and swear to it and then go on their business. And if it's not legally proper, we decline signing it. All of us serve on the Williamson County Juvenile Board along with the county judge, which was Judge Gravel. He was previously on the board with us. We also serve on the bail bond board. That's a mouthful. Say it 3 times quick. We impanel the grand juries. So There's a grand jury process, and I'm not going to go too deep into the weeds on that one, but with the grand jury process, criminal courts go through that before they proceed on to any trial. So each of the 3 district courts who handle criminal matters will take their turn and impanel grand juries. Then we all review indictments that come out of the grand jury and set appropriate bail amounts. We approve the annual budget of the county auditor's office, which ultimately goes to the commissioner's court. They do the ultimate approval, but they do present it to us. We appoint and remove the county auditor, approve appointments of assistant county auditors. As I've already mentioned, that in conjunction with the county court at law judges, we appoint associate judges for the magistrate's court. Within the last 2 years, we've participated in the development and implementation of a jail-based competency restoration program, which is an amazing program. Individuals who have been found to be incompetent, therefore cannot move through the criminal system until they're restored competency, previously would have to wait on incredibly long lists to go to one of the state hospitals, such as Vernon or Ashe. Ashe is the Austin State Hospital. However, here in Williamson County, we've kind of led the path with creating a jail-based competency restoration program that allows the appropriate individuals, after assessment and after agreement from their lawyer and the district attorney's office, allow the individual to go through a jail-based competency restoration program that gives them one-on-one intense restoration services here in our jail. And they found that they are able to address their needs much quicker and get them through that program much quicker. So it's to the benefit of our community and those specific individuals. Otherwise, they'd just be sitting in our jail waiting for their number to come up and be transported over to the state hospital. So it's an excellent program. I included this as a duty. It's not officially a duty, but it's something that we all enjoy. We preside over mock trial competitions with local education programs. I went out to juvenile the other day. It's actually been maybe a month or 2 now. And Georgetown Leadership Group came in. It was a group of junior and senior high school students who came and presented a criminal case. So they got to argue in an actual courtroom. At the end of this month, we have a group, and I think it's Classical Homeschool Education Group. I may be getting the name a little bit off, but they're coming in and they've worked very hard for several months to prepare for a mock trial. So they're coming in to present in the 368th, and I think Judge King and Judge Matthews are going to try to step in and participate with them as well. So they'll come in and compete as if they're actual lawyers in a case. I've helped along with those programs in the last couple of years, and I've really enjoyed it. And to see them come in, some of them are more prepared than some of the lawyers we see some days. So there are some budding lawyers out there. We implemented a short-term COVID impact court to reduce backlog from COVID. This was done for the last 2 years, so 2023 and 2024. We saw that our jury trial numbers of cases waiting for jury trial, were increasing because we weren't able to go to have jury trials during COVID, right? Well, it's important that those cases get heard. So we created a COVID impact court, just short term. We used some grant funding in order to do that with the approval of Commissioner's Court, of course. And we brought in some senior visiting judges. We would have an additional jury trial once or twice a month set in order to address those cases. And it was very helpful to be able to move those cases through. That ended last year, and we were able to continue it on a more limited basis. So for 2025, we have a very short-term docket reduction trial program to provide an option to hear additional criminal cases. So what that is we'll have once a month a senior judge, such as Judge Kennan, who retired from this county, or Judge Goodwin, who used to serve at the Court of Appeals. They'll come in and they will try a case while we are also trying a case in our own court. So it's just an additional way to keep cases moving, because you can imagine how difficult it can be for someone waiting to go to jury trial. Either the defendant's waiting or the alleged victim is waiting. And specifically for those cases that were in COVID impact court, the kind of cases heard in there involving sexual offenses against children, right? So those are individuals who are waiting to come and have their day in court on both sides of the courtroom, right? Defendants and the alleged victim. All right. I believe that was everything that I wanted to go through with you. I'd love to continue talking to you all as you're here, because I think it's so important to learn about what's going on and have the accountability with transparency on numbers as asked about. But as Judge Barker shared with you, the courts are open, and we do have court watchers come in just to see what it's like. And I'll tell you, from day to day, it can be vastly different. Like I said, one day I may be handling felony cases, and another day it may be a civil matter. So if you would have come in yesterday afternoon to the 368th, that was one of our criminal dockets. We had 75 cases on our docket. So the courtroom was full of individuals. We also had lawyers everywhere. It was incredibly busy day. And then this morning, I had a brief civil docket. So it was much calmer and much lower number of individuals before us. But does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
So you covered a lot of the same jurisdictions that the county court does. What determines what goes to county and what goes up to district?
That's a good question. Specifically for criminal, it depends on what kind of criminal offense has been alleged. So if a misdemeanor has been filed through the county attorney's office, which I see that our county attorney is here today, so I know you're going to be hearing from Mr. D. Hobbs, those cases are heard solely in county court. If it's a felony that's been filed by the district attorney's office, that would be heard in district court. Now, civil is a little bit different. There's a jurisdictional limit as far as where a case can be filed, but there's a lot of overlapping. A lawyer could choose, or an individual actually, pro se person representing themselves could file in JP court, and there's 4 different JP courts here throughout Williamson County, or they could file it in county court, or they can file it in district court. In district court, on my civil docket, I may hear a matter where they're seeking to recover $5,000, or they may be seeking to recover $50 million. It depends where the lawyer chooses to file that case. Yes, ma'am.
It may be too hypothetical of a question, but we're talking about the drug courts and those processes. And there's legislation in Austin right now about potentially changing medical or marijuana and legaling. It's probably too early. I'm assuming it would drastically impact the cases that were coming through in the future if that were to pass.
Well, and it all starts with what charge is filed. So it starts with what the law is and whether or not it's a criminal offense, and it would start from there, and then looking at what kind of case that we have and whether or not it's appropriate individual for one of the specialty courts. For instance, for felony DWI and drug court, it's not just anyone charged with a crime. The district attorney's office has a first pass of looking at those cases along with the defense attorney and determining whether this individual is an appropriate one to look at going into the specialty court. From there, there's assessments done for that individual. Specifically on for the felony treatment court, we take in individuals who are at a high risk, high needs, meaning they really have an acute present need. If they've already been through treatment, they are already down that road on recovery, then the resources provided in the specialty court are not going to be necessarily a benefit to them, whereas they may be a greater benefit for someone who hasn't had that option at that point. And because resources are limited as to how many people that we can help at any given time, we want to make sure that those are handed out appropriately and the appropriate individuals are handled. There's a lot of community growth within the program itself that is developed through the process of the program. So not only are they coming in and talking to the judge, and I completely agree with Judge Barker when she said that relationship of when the individual comes in and talks to the judge has the biggest impact. Because I ask them how their kids are doing. Hey, last week you told me you were going out and you had a job interview. What happened? Is that something you want to do? And it may not be a job they want, but then we go to the next step. It's a job for right now. It's going to fulfill that need right now. It's going to help you pay those bills right now, support your family right now, continue working the program, and you'll be ready to move on to the next job. Someone the other day referred to it as the A, B, and C. He had learned this in rehab. A is a job. B is your better job. And then C is a career. And that's what they're working. Right, that's exactly the reaction I had. I said, I'm going to keep using that. I like that. But that's the kind of interaction we share with each other, right? And we learn from each other. Whether it's the person wearing a robe up there or the person out at the rehab center or person out on the street, we can learn from each other in these experiences. And that interaction is so important. And it makes the biggest difference. And then I love to hear when our participants support one another. They have random drug tests. They have to call in every morning between 5 and 7, see if they're on the list for a drug test that day. Sometimes they don't have transportation, right? You can imagine there's all kinds of challenges when you're in throes of having an addiction. Other participants will offer, hey, give me a call. I don't want you to miss out on showing up for that drug test because there's consequences. Right? In life, there's consequences, and in that program, in both of our programs, there are consequences if you don't fulfill the accountability portion of that program. So, any other questions?
We could have a lot more questions, but we're backing up already with the county attorney here.
Oh,
So,
no, and I know he's been patiently waiting.
Yeah, patiently waiting. So if it can wait for the next speaker, or is it really short?
Well, the question's really short. Who puts up with the docket?
Our court administrator. On the district court level, we have one court administrator.
The district court?
For each of the district courts, we have one court administrator who handles docket management. She is amazing, the person who does that for me. On the county court side, they have two per court.
I have a question, and if Judge Bruchmiller is not doesn't have time to answer it, we can get to it later or something. But first of all, thank you for using numbers. 9,000 in a backlog is.
Well, and let me stop you just for a moment. It's 9,000 is the cases currently filed. It's not a backlog. Some of those cases could have been filed the day before, the week before, but it's not a backlog. That's one of those buzzwords that makes everybody really concerned.
Right, okay, so you have an opportunity to deal with 9,000 cases.
I like that.
And that's a little, shaking for me.
It's a lot.
I would imagine that there's people who are waiting quite some time to get their matters taken care of. So I'm going to put that, but thank you for using the numbers was the reason. The question I have is, you talked about a lot of programs and benefits that are being provided through the justice system here.
Yes, sir.
Is that consistent through Texas? Is that consistent through the courts? Or are we doing something special? I don't have a sense of, if you live here, you get this good stuff, but if you live somewhere else, maybe you get better stuff or lesser stuff.
And this will just take me a moment to answer. I don't want to get you off track. It is something special Williamson County is doing. However, many counties throughout Texas. I'll tell you, before I moved here, I resided in Harris County. I was a prosecutor out in Harris County, and they have numerous specialty courts in Harris County. Dallas is the same way. Bexar County has a great program down there, several great programs down there. So especially big counties, but some of the smaller counties as well. McLennan County has an excellent specialty court. I believe it's a DWI drug court. Didn't they just get an award for that? Yeah, so there's several counties throughout Texas. It's a trend that we're seeing throughout the criminal justice system, throughout Texas, but also nationwide.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For indulging.
Great. So thank you very much.